Welcome to the BrightInsight Digital Health C-Suite series. I'm Eisinger Burgess, Senior Vice President of Marketing at BrightInsight. Joining me today from NASDAQ's broadcast studio at the 42nd Annual JP Morgan Healthcare Conference is Don Jones, Operating Partner at Takeda Digital Health Ventures and Founder and Chair at Impact First, Virtual First Healthcare. Don, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. It's great to be here.
So tell us about your role at Takeda Digital Ventures and what are your guys' top 3 priorities this year?
Well, Takeda Digital Ventures is one of 2 venture funds at Takeda Pharmaceuticals. We're focused on obviously digital, but even more narrowly focused on virtual first care delivery, which are medical practices, predominantly in specialties, that are focused on delivering everything they possibly can to the patient where you find them, meaning we're eliminating bricks and mortar out of healthcare delivery as much as possible. And our priorities have been to expand the number of specialties we operate in. We currently operate in 9 different specialties, and we're continuing to expand those specialties, and in finding technology that enables more virtual care and more virtual care services.
Can you share what some of those specialties are?
Sure, we operate today in addiction medicine, psychiatry, emergency medicine, oncology, heart failure medicine, rheumatology, and we've got a few more kind of on the boards coming in shortly.
Great. So we're here this week talking to tech executives, life sciences executives about the topic du jour, generative AI technologies, how it can be applied to life sciences. How is Takeda Digital Ventures thinking about your investment strategy thesis when it relates to Gen AI?
This falls in the category of technology enablement that helps our virtual first care practices. So the short-term opportunities there are going to be about solving basic problems that really don't have a whole lot to do with pharmaceutical. They have to do with things like finding the appropriate therapies for a particular patient based on their medical records and their longitudinal medical records across all providers that they've provided. Have to do with administrative functions like pre-authorizations and challenging denials and automating that function, and just actually dealing with the interaction between healthcare provider and patient, and essentially taking the provider off the computer so they don't have to be on the computer, so that interaction is recorded and coded correctly without any computer interaction. So those are the basic short-term things. In the longer-term things, it's really going to be about digging through those longitudinal medical records and the claims data and optimizing therapeutic options for patients as a result of trying to bring more data to the table at the time the patient presents.
So I think you mentioned virtual first care, saving time for clinicians and providers using Gen AI and digital technologies. We're hearing that across a lot of these interviews. You know, beyond Takeda, you work with tech startups, massive healthcare companies, other life sciences companies. What other trends are you seeing in terms of digital health?
Probably the biggest term in terms of applied AI and MLL is actually engaging the patient in ways that are brand new. Finding ways where the patient actually knows what to do next, knows what questions they want to ask their physician, builds on those questions based on their own personalized medical records, etc. So really patient-facing tools, more so than healthcare system tools, that really help the patient decide, do I even need to see a doctor? Do I need to go to a doctor to see whether I find out whether I need to see a doctor? And once I get there, what am I going to ask? Why am I going to ask these kinds of questions? How do they relate to my lab results? How do they relate to my experiences, my symptoms, etc.? So changing the relationship so the patient actually has essentially a medical assistant in their pocket is probably the most exciting arena. And one example, if anybody wants to see one, you can look up a company called medikarma.com to see an example of a patient-facing application, and Jill, which becomes that medical assistant in your pocket that is highly personalized to your care in your situation.
I love that concept. You and I have worked together for over 15 years, which is crazy at this point. So starting way back in the day at Qualcomm, on bringing different digital health technologies and end-to-end platforms to market in healthcare. How important are partnerships and platforms as life sciences companies, larger health systems, the big healthcare players, as they're trying to deploy their own digital health solutions? How important are platforms and partnerships?
I think the platform concept is growing in requirement for a pharma company because the complexities of the therapies are growing. It's becoming important that pharma companies get involved with the care management that goes along with the therapy, and something that perhaps they didn't spend as much time on before. And I think helping physicians in that care management process is something we're going to see a lot more effort by pharma companies playing in the future. And I think So it's not only helping the physicians identify what therapies are going to be the right one for that particular patient, but really managing that patient long term and helping that process go as smoothly as possible and keeping that patient as engaged with not only their practitioner but engaged with the therapy.
Kind of controversial question. I'm curious for your thoughts. So you mentioned biopharma putting more of an effort into the care management side for their patients, for their particular therapies. Do you see a world where biopharma's product will be digital first and drug second, or will it always be drugs with a digital wrapper?
Well, there are certainly opportunities for digital first, especially when you look at some of the mental health arenas. Certainly some of the areas where combinations of therapy involve physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, together with a drug therapy. But I think those are the exceptions rather than the rules, and it's more likely to be the digital support system that comes out of a digital wrapper that goes with the drug, whether it be an oral drug or an injected drug or an infused drug. That is still going to be the dominant kind of role. But I think when you think about care management and what does the patient actually have to do to take this drug? How do the caregivers participate and help the patient take and manage and adhere to a drug process? These are the parts of things that I think the digital tools are going to have to help support in the future.
So you shared some perspectives on the value of digital health and generative AI technologies for end users like patients and the providers. What about the value for biopharma companies and their blockbuster therapies? How do you think these technologies can support driving value for them?
Well, if we get past the drug discovery part, which there are some applications in drug discovery, it's not where I actually focus my time and effort, and move into the more practical side of finding patients that can benefit from therapies, getting those patients aware that those therapies exist and could be of benefit to them, having the physicians order and prescribe, and then get the patients on that therapy, get that therapy to them, get the support services they need that go with that therapy, whether they be part of a patient services support program or whether they just be things you have to do to actually do that therapy. Maybe it's a complex therapy, maybe it's infusion therapy, and there's a lot of things to coordinate. Maybe caregivers have to be involved. So getting all of that lined up so that the therapy actually happens, the patient gets the benefit from it, and frankly, the pharmaceutical company gets the sales that are represented by that therapy and the recurring sales that are necessary while the patient's still getting a medical benefit.
Sounds like a lot of value opportunity there. Final question. So you've been referred to as the Godfather of digital health for years, okay? What is surprising you about where we are today in 2024 in digital health?
Well, probably the biggest surprise was I didn't know I was going into digital health. When I first got going in, and I was working at Qualcomm, we called it wireless health. The term digital health didn't exist, and we were selling wireless technology, so it made sense. So the surprising part is looking back and saying I've been in digital health for 2 decades, and helped bring the terminology and the applications and the use cases to the forefront. So the biggest surprise is how long I've been doing it, and and secondly, how many solutions are in the marketplace. When we first started working on this, people were asking, what is this? What are you trying to do? I mean, it was really foreign. I think it probably took a decade before it became to the point where we recognized we no longer had to convince people of that. We really had to more talk about helping them getting through their use cases and their applications. But even today, I still find that there are aspects of healthcare that are still pretty backwards in their thinking, and I think now more and more to their own detriment. Meaning, if they don't have a digital presence, a way of reacting or interacting with patients on a digital basis, they run the risk of actually losing a chunk of their business, a chunk of their relationship, or the patients are going to find. And why? Because digital often means other things than clinical. It means convenience. It means access. It means saving time. It often means saving money. It means making things easier. It means making communications easier. It means a lot of other things than just maybe a specific clinical outcome. And I think a lot of organizations that don't figure out how to put digital solutions around their solutions are going to lose out to people who say, I'm going to go the Amazon way and just push a button and have things show up. And whether that's their therapies or their clinical care or whatever else, they're going to make personal switches in their life that switch to easier to access care delivery options.
Well, as always, Don, great takes. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.